coordinated by the Public Rights Project, challenges executive orders and actions that harm cities and states with sanctuary policies. At the heart of this legal action is Executive Order 14159, Protecting the American People Against Invasion, which orders federal agencies to illegally cut off federal funding to sanctuary jurisdictions. Memos from the U.S. Department of Justice have instructed staff to investigate and prosecute state and local officials in sanctuary jurisdictions who do not actively assist in immigration enforcement. Sanctuary laws and policies prioritize our city and state resources for traditional law enforcement and local priorities. We object to the federal government's attempt to defund public safety, infrastructure, and critical services in our city. Portland is committed to upholding both state laws and our values. We are prepared to make our case in court and ensure that our city remains a sanctuary for all community members. We want to lead by example and show the nation what a well-run city looks like when we work together to leave no community member behind. Thank you for your attention and your support. I appreciate that. I'd like to invite up Council President Pertogini to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. Since the Trump administration took office, we have accepted many changes, some of them changing back within just a few days. But this change is federal overreach, and we must push back. We are going to follow state and federal law. And while the feds may be in charge of our immigration laws, they are not in charge of our local law enforcement. We need to focus our local resources on local policing needs. It is our right as a city, in fact, to devote those resources to our local police. Portland has and will continue to follow federal law and our state laws, and in this case, both state laws and our community's values demand that we defend our sanctuary laws. We have litigated this issue under the previous Trump administration, and we won. I am confident in the case that we are joining today. I appreciate the mayor's desire to move quickly to defend our state and our local authority. Thank you all for being here.
All right, we will open it up for questions. I also want to invite City Attorney Robert Taylor here, who will likely be answering a lot of your technical questions, but we can open it up to media. So I'm going to keep it narrowly on this scope, this topic, so we're not opening it up for anything. But go ahead.
To whoever can answer, are you worried that the Trump administration could withhold federal funds from Portland?
Robert, do you want to do that one?
Thank you, Robert Taylor, Portland City Attorney. Yes, we are worried about that. That's what the Attorney General of the United States is trying to do, and that's what this lawsuit is trying to stop. We're trying to defend our city's sanctuary policies, and we want to defend against this federal overreach.
Sorry, hold on. The federal funds that could be withheld, are you able to give any in-depth on that?
Today, Portland has over $10 million in 12 active grants from different U.S. Department of Justice grant programs. This funding has been awarded to Portland, but has not yet been dispersed. These include the Burn Justice Assistant Grant programs. Those funds fund things like our body-worn camera program, violence interruption program, safe blocks program. This direction from the U.S. Attorney General also puts into jeopardy funding we receive for the National Sexual Assault Kit Initiative that tackles the backlog of rape kits for sexual assault victims. So this is important federal funding. It's valuable to our city, and it's worth defending.
Before we switch to the next question, do either of you want to speak on that? You guys are, yeah, go for it.
I just want to put a finer point on this. The federal administration is jeopardizing critical programs that our community depends upon. And we are filing this lawsuit because we are being asked to choose between our authority to use our local funding for local policing and these federal grants that fund critical programs. This should not be a binary. This should not be a choice. We're here today pushing back specifically because we should have these dollars for critical programs and the authority to use our local funding for local policing.
Alex, do you have something?
Yeah, question for you. How are you preparing for this attention from the Trump administration that this will undoubtedly bring?
I agree. You know, we are scenario planning every day because, frankly, we're unsure of what this crisis and the chaos is bringing. But it's not something we expect to do. This is not a normal course of business. This is not how we run our city. You know, let me go one step forward, one step further. We contribute taxes to the federal government. We contribute a federal workforce. We contribute critical business that run the federal government. We also have federal buildings here. But we also contribute patriotism. We also contribute our democratic values. To say that we're at odds isn't part of our value. You know, we depend on the federal government for public safety and basic services. And we expect them to fulfill that obligation, just as we're going to continue to fulfill our obligation to the federal government. So, just wanted to put a finer point on that. Thank you.
All right, before we go back to anybody else?
Has the city been contacted by the DOJ?
Robert, you want to take that one?
We've not been contacted related to this lawsuit yet, but we expect to be in contact with them soon.
Have you been contacted as far as the withdrawal of federal funds? Have they actually reached out and said, we're going to pull this back?
So this is a quickly moving issue. On Wednesday of this week, the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi issued her memo outlining this freeze in federal funding through the U.S. Department of Justice. Just yesterday, Chicago was sued on this issue. And today, the city of Portland, along with the city of San Francisco and others, are taking this fight to the Trump administration.
Well, you have been sued, right? Just make sure.
No, we have not been sued. We have litigated on this issue under the previous Trump administration. We have received previous rulings in our favor, and we want to defend our precedent and our rules as a sanctuary city.
And the $10 million you mentioned that's in jeopardy, is there somewhere more specifically where we can see where that money can be spent that money?
I believe we're on the city's website. It's portlandoregon.gov/federal impacts. There's a list of federal grants that the city gets, so you can look at that resource.
We'll update that page and send it to you. All right, we'll close it out with this question.
What would this do to our police force here in Portland if this is upheld? I know they're already so strapped, hallway times are extremely high already.
I think your question was, how will this affect our day-to-day operations? It's a great question. We were just scenario planning as well. Some of the funds address our body-worn cameras that we're just trying to get off the ground and fully implement. It would impact that one particular program, but there's a host of programs, Office of Violence Prevention and such, that are really central to our city in addressing some of the crises that we're expecting. You're right, it's not going to help us reduce the burden on our public safety system. It's actually going to be counter, which is why it's so important that we filed this lawsuit quickly. Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, well, thank you all for coming on such short notice. We'll keep providing updates as we go. So thank you so much. Close it out at that. Thank you all for coming.